Heroes of Black Reach. This is a smash up of two different games. You have a theme coming from Warhammer 40,000, and then you have the Heroes of Normandy system. Now, I actually haven't played either game, so my review is going to be particularly, I don't want to say objective, but unencumbered by previous experiences that I may have, and I had not, with the games. Now, actually, disclaimer, I did play Warhammer 40k once. I had two friends who were really into it. They set up like a demo session for me. I played it, but as you say, I went through the motions. I got a general idea, and somehow the game was not really for me. It felt like there were too many moving parts for the tactical possibilities that the game gave you. So, Heroes of Black Reach, it is a combat game. You're going to move and attack, and then attack more, and try to attack more. And there are several scenarios, so it's scenario-based, a lot of variety, but ultimately inflicting pain on the opponent is what you're going for. The game is played using these terrain tiles here. They're double-sided, so you have a lot of variety, and there are indeed several of them, so that you can use them to play the scenarios in the scenario book, or you can create your own scenarios. The units that you will be using are represented by tiles that go on the board, and they will move, so representing the position of your units. But also they have these other tiles here giving you a little more information. For example, you know about orders. These stars represent orders. The number of orders that your units generate is super important. And then you have other information here. You also have these slots here that can be used to customize your units using these tiles here. You really have a healthy amount of tiles that can be used to give your units any sort of advantage, from better ammo, different weapons, a lot of things. The only thing that you need to respect is these edges here that you see, the patterns that you see on the edge. Then when you place an upgrade, it needs to match that kind of pattern there from at least one of the sides. So you will customize your units, and then, well, you're good to go. Again, your units will go on the board. And actually, as for the units themselves, you have an illustration here, of course, movement value indicated there in the bottom right corner. Here you have in the big shield in the center of this area your defense value, and then you have modifiers that you apply when you're attacking different types of target. This unit, for example, has +2 when attacking units with a yellow defense shield, +2 against red defense shield, and +2 against gray defense shield. And of course, different units may have completely different sets of bonuses and modifiers there. Oh no, the camera wants to fall, and we are not gonna let it. Let's try to fix this. Now, where were we? Yes, the units and the modifiers. So the units go on the board, and then, well, it's time to start playing. The structure of the turn is this. At the beginning of a turn, players count how many orders the units generate, so how many stars are present among tiles in their units. And then they take an equal number of order tiles. Say this group generates 3 orders, then they take these ones. They're numbered, and you always start from 1, and you go as high as you have orders. So then after that, the players will place the order units on their tiles face down on the tiles of the units that they have. And so maybe if I have 6 units, not all of them will activate. But if I place the tiles down, also my opponent does not know the order in which I'll activate them. Because then basically once we have placed our orders face down on our units, we alternate revealing them starting from the lowest number, and we go like this. When you activate a unit, the unit can move or attack, not both usually. When you move, well, guess what? You move on the map up to your movement allowance. When you attack, the basic idea is actually very simple. Is when you have to go through like 15 modifiers, that thing can become a little bit fiddly. You roll a 6-sided die, the magical, the good old school 6-sided die. you add, or in any case, you apply the modifier based on your firing modifier based on the kind of target that I'm attacking. This unit is attacking a yellow target, then rolls a die, adds a +3. And then you apply any other whatever million of modifiers you have to apply. If you looked at some of these styles, they are a veritable orgy of different icons. These ones, like enough, are pretty consistent, but there are just so many different icons that you may have to take into account. So when all is said and done, when you apply the, you roll the die, apply the modifiers. If you roll equal to or higher than the defense of the opponent, then good for you, you inflicted a hit. And then at that point, the icon that you have here at the bottom of the unit tells you the kind of response that the unit has. Very often it'll be that the unit is reduced, it needs to be flipped to the weakened side. If a weakened unit takes another hit, it is removed. Then, well, that's the general idea. Range is usually infinite, although you have a penalty if you're firing above a range of 7. You need to have line of sight. But the general idea is just move and attack, inflict a lot of pain. We have event cards, because what would be a game without event cards? That will give you different types of situational modifiers. You may as well burn and waste all of your cards, because they don't carry over from one turn to the other, so you don't really have hand management or hand building from turn to turn. What you get is what you get, and hope you get a good combo, use it that turn. The general idea: keep activating units, generate orders, move and attack, try to inflict pain on the opponent, and the player who is the most efficient at doing so within the parameters of the scenario is the winner of the game. So Heroes of Black Reach, I have somewhat mixed feelings about it, but it may just be me. It may just be I'm not the kind of player that enjoys a game based on all of the level of detail that you have in Warhammer 40k, which, to my understanding, which is limited, is something that this game has in common with the original game. But on the other hand, maybe I'm not the right person to enjoy this game, yes, but I'm still the person filming this video review, so I'm still gonna share my opinions, and then you do whatever you want with them. That's your prerogative. My mixed feelings, well, aside from the good stuff, the game looks really good, the production is nice, and the rules, once you get through the somewhat messy rulebook, are really simple and intuitive. The rulebook is very weak. It doesn't have a detailed index by topic. If I want to double check, I remember there was a penalty when you shoot a long range. Was it -2, -3? There isn't an index that says range, penalty, etc., etc., etc. It gives you the title of the chapters, and then there's a lot of information in each chapter. Important things are not graphically emphasized, say, by using bold fonts, and so it's a little bit of a mess to get to figure out how the game works, and then to go and retrieve information, which is particularly important when you have a game which has such a simple core of rules, once you figure out what those are, and so many, in fact, little details. Because then you're like, oh, how does that power work? What is that icon again? And I didn't see a player aid with just a summary of all of the icons, or many of the icons. There are many games these days in which you have to learn to speak Iconese or to read Iconese. At least here you need, I would say, a master degree, not a PhD, but a master, maybe a PhD, in Iconese. There are just many icons, they do many things, and you have to retrieve the meaning of those, who knows where. Which leads us to one of the problems that I have with the game. The basic gameplay is fine by me. You move and attack, you move or attack, and yes, sometimes you get in a situation where you're in the right position, so the best possible position with the modifiers, that pretty much I'm gonna go on autopilot, pew, 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 until the situation changes, and then, well, I'm gonna have to move. But there may be the tendency to a little bit of static gameplay, because you move or attack, so I want to move as little as possible so I can attack as much as possible. In fact, I prefer games in which you can do both, maybe with a penalty if you attack and move, or move or attack, but it just gives you more tactical options that way. So it's fine. It's fine gameplay because I really don't mind the sci-fi games where you get to shoot big weapons at the opponents. My problem is when you have a game that is at its core so basic, so truly elementary. I mean, the basic idea, it's simpler than Commands and Colors, simpler than Memoir 44. But to make it work, you have this incredibly complicated system of icons and modifiers, and frankly it's a little bit disappointing when I go through all those modifiers, +2 because of that, +1 because of that, +1, oh but -1, oh but with that action blocks that one, blah blah. But ultimately I'm rolling a 6-sided die, and so I go through all of these modifiers to get a range that is not all that, doesn't feel all that significant. I just feel that the game probably could have worked equally well, to my taste, maybe even better, with half of the modifiers that it has now. So that is my mixed where my mixed reaction comes from. I love the production, it looks so great. I love it's a self-contained game. I love I don't have to paint minis. It doesn't have that hobby aspect that is such an important element of Warhammer 40k, and that's one of the reasons why I don't play miniature games. I'm not interested in the hobby aspect. I like the order system. I like how you can create bluff and really sequencing the orders in a certain tone is so important. I like all of these elements, but I don't like the fact that ultimately I'm doing a lot of work to get a ton of modifiers that I have to double check on a 6-sided die roll, and in that sense it feels like it's too much work for what the design ultimately is. So Heroes of Black Reach, if you're big fans of Warhammer, then you have another way of playing it that probably doesn't require taking out your massive collection of painted miniatures. On the other hand, if you have it, it's precisely because you love to take it out so much, so I don't know that you really feel like, oh, I need another way of playing it. This feels to me, probably it is for people like me that are too lazy or not interested in or not gifted enough to paint and build miniatures, but we still want to have that kind of gameplay. But then it turns out, at least for me, that kind of gameplay, fairly simple with a ton of modifiers, is not my favorite way of addressing tactical combat in a board game. And so at the end, I don't hate it, but I'm not a huge fan either.